Princess Leonor's future husband. Spain can't stop talking here. In October 2023, Princess Leonor stood before Spain's parliament and swore loyalty to the constitution on her 18th birthday. It was a procedural moment, carefully scripted and deeply symbolic, marking her formal recognition as heir to the throne. What made the occasion significant was not spectacle, but continuity, the same constitutional act performed by her father decades earlier. Yet almost immediately, public discussion shifted beyond the oath itself. Questions began circulating, not about policy or power, but about the future structure of the monarchy around her. Among them, one question stood out, not because it was new, but because it revealed a gap in public understanding. How does Spain's constitutional system approach the idea of a future royal consort? By the end of this video, the viewer will understand why this question persists, what the Spanish constitution actually says, how history shapes expectations, and why the focus on institutional roles matters far more than personal curiosity. Leonor de Borbón y Ortiz was born in 2005 into a constitutional monarchy that had already undergone significant transformation. Spain's monarchy, restored in the late 20th century after decades of dictatorship, operates under a parliamentary framework in which the monarch reigns but does not govern. From the beginning, Leonor's preparation has reflected that reality. Her education, public appearances, and military training have followed a clearly defined institutional path, designed not around personal narrative but around constitutional responsibility. Understanding why conversations arise about her future requires understanding the role she is being prepared to occupy. The Spanish monarch is head of state, symbol of national unity, and constitutional arbiter. Every public action is therefore evaluated not in isolation, but in terms of how it supports democratic legitimacy. In that context, even peripheral roles, such as that of a future consort, become part of broader institutional continuity. This framing often gets lost in casual media coverage, but it is essential for understanding why such discussions exist at all. Spain's constitution is explicit about succession and authority, yet notably restrained about personal matters. It defines the monarch's role, outlines succession rules, and limits political power, but it does not prescribe personal life decisions. What it does clarify is that any spouse of a reigning monarch holds no constitutional authority unless explicitly granted by law. This distinction matters. The consort is not a co-sovereign, not a policymaker, and not an elected representative. Their role is symbolic and supportive, shaped by custom rather than law. Historically, this separation has served an important function. It protects the neutrality of the crown and ensures that democratic legitimacy flows through elected institutions. When the public speculates about future arrangements, it often reflects uncertainty about these constitutional boundaries. Clarifying them reveals that the system is designed to prevent personal relationships from influencing governance. This safeguard has been central to Spain's post-transition monarchy. To see how this framework developed, it helps to look briefly at recent history. King Juan Carlos I ascended the throne during a moment of national transition. His reign was defined by constitutional consolidation and democratic stabilization. Queen Sofia, as consort, became a figure of continuity and cultural diplomacy, but she held no governing authority. Her role was ceremonial, charitable, and symbolic, aligned with the expectations of a constitutional monarchy. Later, Queen Letitia's role further reflected institutional evolution. As a commoner by birth and a professional journalist before marriage, her position illustrated how modern monarchies adapt to social change while maintaining constitutional limits. Her responsibilities centered on representation, advocacy, and public engagement, not governance. These precedents inform how Spain understands the concept of a consort today: visible, influential in soft power terms, but constitutionally neutral. Princess Leonor's public preparation has been notably comprehensive. Her education includes international schooling, fluency in multiple languages, and military training across Spain's armed forces, an expectation for future commanders-in-chief under the Constitution. These steps are documented, deliberate, and transparent. They signal continuity, discipline, and institutional readiness. What is striking is what is not emphasized. Public messaging avoids personal narrative. There is no cultivation of a celebrity persona, no emphasis on private milestones beyond their constitutional relevance. This approach reflects lessons learned from modern monarchy across Europe. Legitimacy depends on restraint. The focus remains on service, preparation, and accountability to democratic norms. Comparisons with other European monarchies often surface in public discussion. In the Netherlands, Sweden, and Belgium, heirs have ascended the throne with spouses who later assume the role of consort. Each case reflects national tradition rather than uniform practice. Some consorts take on extensive public duties, others remain more reserved. In all cases, however, constitutional limits remain firm. These comparisons are useful not for prediction, but for context. They demonstrate that there is no single model for how a future consort functions. The role evolves alongside societal expectations, media environments, and institutional priorities. Spain's cautious, constitution-first approach places it firmly within the mainstream of modern European monarchy. Media interest in future arrangements often says more about public curiosity than institutional reality. In constitutional monarchies, the private life of an heir becomes public not because it drives policy, but because symbolism matters. Yet responsible analysis distinguishes between interest and importance. The monarchy's durability depends not on personal stories, but on public trust. This distinction is critical for advertiser-safe, educational discussion. By focusing on systems rather than speculation, the conversation becomes more meaningful. It shifts from conjecture to comprehension. And in doing so, it respects both the individual and the institution they serve. Spain's monarchy today operates in a media environment vastly different from that of previous generations. Social media, 24-hour news cycles, and global audiences amplify even routine events. This makes clarity and discipline more important than ever. The royal household's communications strategy reflects this reality: limited access, carefully framed appearances, and an emphasis on constitutional milestones. Princess Leonor's visibility increases gradually, aligned with responsibility rather than popularity. Each public appearance reinforces her future role, not her personal identity. This deliberate pacing is designed to build long-term legitimacy rather than short-term attention. The question often implied in public discourse, how a future consort might fit into this structure, can only be answered institutionally. Any future arrangement would be governed by constitutional law, parliamentary oversight, and established precedent. There is no mechanism for personal influence over state affairs, nor any expectation of political involvement. This understanding reframes the conversation. Instead of asking who, the more relevant question becomes how the institution maintains balance, neutrality, and public confidence. History suggests that restraint, not visibility, is the guiding principle. Monarchies endure not by resisting change, but by managing it carefully. Spain's experience since the late 20th century demonstrates this balance. The crown adapts to social expectations while preserving constitutional clarity. Princess Leonor's preparation reflects that lesson. Her role is not to innovate personally, but to embody continuity within a democratic framework. In that sense, discussions about future arrangements, when handled responsibly, serve as reminders of how much modern monarchy depends on rules rather than personalities. The system is designed to function regardless of individual circumstance. As Princess Leonor continues her public formation, attention will naturally follow. Yet the most important developments will remain procedural rather than personal. Oaths, training, constitutional duties, these are the milestones that matter. They shape leadership not through charisma, but through responsibility. And in that reality, the monarchy's future rests less on speculation and more on preparation. The institution's strength lies in its predictability, its legal clarity, and its commitment to democratic principles. The enduring takeaway is this: leadership in a constitutional monarchy is defined not by private life, but by public duty. Princess Leonor's path illustrates how modern royal institutions prioritize structure over story, continuity over curiosity. Understanding that distinction allows for more informed, respectful discussion, one grounded in history and law rather than assumption. In reflecting on Spain's monarchy, what becomes clear is that its resilience depends on preparation, restraint, and constitutional fidelity. Those qualities, rather than unanswered questions, will shape its future. Only 1 in 10 viewers here is subscribed. If you value thoughtful insights into royalty and leadership, join the community.